new here, my name is Mitchell. In today's episode, I'll be talking about why we self sabotage. So I do these YouTube lives every Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Pacific time, 10 p.m. Eastern time, Saturdays at 12 p.m. Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. And if you guys do find this video content of value, you guys can show your appreciation by, either donating or liking and subscribing. That will help me a lot over at this channel. But today I am going to be talking about why we self-sabotage, and I think this is a very important hi Cheeky. I think this is a very important topic because self-sabotage is one of those things that you don't really think about. It's not immediate. At least the consequences are not immediate. So then we don't really think about it. And if it's not aware of it and it's not, conscious on our mind, then what are you how do you prepare for that? Hi Nathan. uh I hope you're feeling better. Okay, I hope you're feeling better. I hope mommy feels better too, right? A lot of people are not feeling too well, so make sure mommy feels good. All right, but anyways, let's see. So today I'll start out with a recap as usual. Okay, I'll start out with the recap. Excuse me, guys. I'll start out with the recap, and then I have 4 slides that I'll be talking about, which is, um, I'll get into it. I'll get into it. But first, the recap is every day stand guard at the door of your mind. Okay, every day stand, every day stand guard at the door of your mind. And the slide that I'll be talking about will be on Let's Do This Together. So this recap, if you guys are interested, it will be on my Instagram. You could go back to the episode, but I do want to talk about this recap slide, which is um Jim Rohn's quote that I took, that I'm going to talk about right now. I'm very sicker. Oh no, feel better. Just relax. Relax. Um, okay. So let's start out with this. Poor thinking habits. Okay. This is the quote. Poor thinking habits keep most people poor, not poor working habits. Our mind is a mental factory. Whatever you think about all day long, pours ingredient into this mental factory. And that's what builds our social, economic, financial fabric of your life. And as you think, so you become. As you think, so you become. What a man reads pour massive ingredients into his mental life, and the fabric of his life is built on these ingredients. So select the right ingredients for your mind, and keep out the wrong ingredients. And it starts with your thought. So I'm going to be talking about thought later too, right? So it starts with your thought. You must be wise, and you must be careful with your thoughts. It doesn't matter who hands you the bad stuff or where you get the bad stuff from. It will still do damage to you and your bank account, right? Be sure to stand guard at the door of your mind every day. My mummy watching Stranger Things. Okay, I see. I'm glad you're on, Nathan. I'm glad you're on. And whoever else is on, say here if you're here, okay? But anyways, I know there's some people in here that's not feeling too well, so sit back, relax, get a cup of tea or something, and just let Mitchell do all the work. Let Mitchell do all the work, all right? And then yeah, let's do this together. Let's do this together. So anyways, the first slide that I'm going to be talking about today is self-efficacy. Because this slide was actually inspired because I was like, you know what, I've learned about this before, I just don't really remember. Okay, and so anyway, self-efficacy, and I was like, yo, what's the difference between self-efficacy and self-esteem? Because I think those are important differences to understand, like why. Okay. So, self-efficacy. Let's start with this. What is the relationship you have with your own thoughts? Because your thoughts is like your basic fundamental, that's your baseline. Okay, those are your foundations, and depending on how you use and what goes on in your mind, is exactly how you're going to operate. So it starts from here and it ends with the results, or your behavior to the results. And here it is. Your thoughts, from your own thoughts, it creates emotions. So thoughts create emotions. Emotions create feelings. Feelings create behavior. Okay, let's go through that one more time. Thoughts creates emotions. Emotions create feelings. And feelings create behavior. And of course, behavior yields results, right? Depending on whether or not the results, it's the results that you want, you're gonna get a result, okay? And so I do want to talk about the three building blocks of behavior change, which is outcome, process, and your identity, right? Because outcome is what you get, right? It's just like the result. It's what you get. Hi, Shevlin. Okay, I got distracted. Sorry. Outcome is what you get. Your process, the process is what you do. It's what you do, and I think that's very important. And your identity is what you believe. So what you believe is really important, right? Because those are the three building blocks to why your behavior is going to change, and you're going to act accordingly to, or consistently, to maintain that quote unquote change. Okay, so that's really important if you're thinking about trying to become that better person, or it's like it starts with thoughts, because so your thought is your foundation. If you are always viewing the world as everything that's against you, right? Things happen to you, I'm the victim and all this, you're always going to be playing from that field of, playing not to lose. And I think that's really, it's crucial. It's crucial to understand how your thoughts operate, because if, don't get me wrong, there will be days where there's going to be self-doubt, but it doesn't mean that you have to live and let it run you, okay? Emotional damage. All right. So, with your thoughts, it's good to ask yourself good quality questions, because the quality of your life is in direct proportion to the quality of the questions you consistently ask yourself. And it starts with thought, right? So, what is your view of yourself? Yeah. Give me 1 second. What is your view of yourself? How you view yourself, whether it is accurate or not, is how you view the world, and that's your perception, right? So, if you don't think you're worthy of love, you're going to start doubting yourself. And when you start doubting yourself, then you create this story saying, what's the point of even trying? Or I tried it a few times and it didn't work. What's the point of continuing, right? But you don't get change unless you continue to, one, persevere, but two, try different things that it's not everything you do is going to work, right? So I know some people in here might be watching, and you might be, look, I tried opening up to a lot of people, and every time I open up, I end up getting hurt. Well, one, it's who are you opening up to? And two, what are you, look at the patterns of what you're doing. And if you're opening up to these type of people, what do they have in common? And are these people more like, are they takers? Do they even care about your well-being too as well? Because you want teammates in your life, you want people that's willing to support you, right? So really think back to that. I see you, Julie. I see you laughing at me. Anyways, so what's the, like, you start telling yourself the story, like, what's the point of trying? What's the point of doing this? I don't want to do this anymore. And it's easier to do nothing. It is always easier to do nothing. Like, I could just sit back and be like, forget this. I don't want to do nothing, right? It's easier to just lay down, but life doesn't feel like it's worth living, right? It's like, yeah, I could have those feelings, but I like a little bit more into my life, like it depends on what kind of ingredients, that it's the chef, okay? Let's use that. It's the chef. It's not just the ingredients that you present. It's, hey, what life presents to you. If I'm being challenged to cook, I'm not the best cook, but let's just say I'm a chef, right? Let's just say I'm a chef, and You give the other person, well, the other person has what? Steak, filet mignon, or whatever, right? And I'm given a hot dog and a bun to create this, right? And those are my ingredients. I just got a hot dog and a bun. How can I make this the best hot dog and bun thing versus someone that has like a piece of steak? Yeah, they do have better things, but it doesn't mean that I can't make something great out of what I have. And I think that's really important. And as you get through life, you're going to have more ingredients. How are you going to operate from that position? Really important. Now, anyways, I want to talk about self-esteem and self-efficacy. And I think this is I spent a lot of time on this. I really enjoy this. So, yeah, let's do this together. Okay. So what is the difference between self-esteem and self-efficacy? Let's define it first. And excuse me, there's a lot of dust in here, okay? So just excuse me if my voice sounds a little So self-esteem. Self-esteem is the realistic respect for your ability, right, to achieve certain things. So it's just think about it as, can you do it? Like, what are you good at? So say, for example, self-esteem. Let's just use me dancing as an example. I don't think I'm a bad dancer. I think I'm decent. I can move. If you put me on a stage and you give me the song, I feel comfortable. I could do it. Like, that's a realistic approach. I know I could do it, right? Now, self-efficacy, on the other hand, is how you feel about that thing, or it's your beliefs about your ability. So how you feel and believe about your ability versus self-esteem is your realistic approach. Like, can you do it and can you not? Are you competent? Okay. Now, this is it. People with so it goes both ways, right? It could go up on both ends and it could go down on both ends, and it could be like this and it could also be like this. And let me explain. So people usually, when you have high self-esteem, you usually have high self-efficacy. Usually. But on the flip side, it could go down both ways as well, right? Once you have low self-esteem because you're not competent, then you have low self-efficacy. How you feel towards it, you don't feel confidence because you're not good at it, right? Now, I do want to explain the example. So there's two examples that I do want to share. So people with high self-esteem can have low self-efficacy. Okay, so high self-esteem, low self-efficacy. That example is like, I'm good at what I do. I just don't really care enough to really like want to pursue it or do more about it. Like, have you ever met someone that's just really good at something, but they're just kind of like, yeah, I don't really care. I really don't care enough to really want to do it. Okay. So that's one example, right? And it is also possible to have low self-esteem and high self-efficacy. And the example is, I don't think I can do it because of the lack of experience, but I feel like I could. And that's courage, right? Inaction breeds fear and doubt. Taking action breeds confidence and courage, right? So if you think about it, with those two examples of self-efficacy and self-esteem, one is, I'm good at what I do, I just don't care enough to do it. And the other one is, I'm not good at it right now, but I believe that I could do it because based off my history, I know that whenever I do something, I am not great at it. But I do know that I have the capability or the ability to overcome it as long as I pay attention. So that molds you into that person that you are. So it's the formality of your character. And your character is destiny. So how you view life, let's go back to the beginning of the slide, right? Just think about it. What is your thoughts, right? Because your thoughts is what creates emotion. Emotion create feelings, and feelings create behaviors. So what is your character? Do you really ask yourself this question? Because then it will actually reveal who you are as a person. Like, do you just give up when things don't work? Because if you do, then that means that you have low self-esteem and or low self-efficacy. Like, where do you stand and what is your character in this place? Like, because if you are that, how do you change that, right? Because if you if people's behaviors about their attitudes, right, it would change eventually to be consistent to how they view themselves. So let's just say this. Let's just say, use me as an example, right? I'll give you an example of me, which is in the beginning, when I didn't really know so much about, anything that I was speaking about, because, everyone, you don't just, you're not just born knowing things, right? So, I was really bad at understanding, and how I viewed through life was like, this is how you're supposed to operate. And then I started understanding, I started reading, and I started picking up things. I'm like, yo, that that seems more morally correct, or that seems like the right thing to do. And so I started adapting, and I started learning about like what self-help, and understanding people, understanding others, and not so much just me now, where it put me in a position where I had to act consistently to my new beliefs, which is, stop treating people like that. Stop. It's not good to treat people like that. Understand it from their perspective. And so I maintain that. I'll maintain that consistency, so that I no longer operate from that place. Okay, or how I used to. So that's what most people do now. So today's slide is because, why do we self-sabotage, in which, I'm going to be talking about the second slide. Why do we self-sabotage? Because self-sabotage leads to feeling of vulnerability, and not a lot of people feel comfortable feeling vulnerable, because feeling vulnerable means, to some people, it means that I have to open up. But maybe in the past, when I opened up, or try to share some of my thoughts, that some of these people, or the people that I shared it with, they start either making fun of me, they start using those as like ammunition against me. And it's like, I'd rather not share anything, or I'd rather not open up, because I'm gonna get hurt anyways. And that's it's all starts with thought, right? Your thoughts creates those emotions, and then emotions create that feeling of, no, I'd rather not do it, right? And that's how you view things, and that's how you feel towards that. So then you become closed off. And also, it's like, the reason why we self-sabotage is because, you ever laid in bed and just start listening to music, and you're like, yo, this is a sad music, it speaks to me, I understand this and all this, right? You're creating this comfort spot for you, which is like, if I'm sad, if that person hurt me, I get to put on these music, and I get to be be by myself, and I feel comfortable feeling sad about myself. And the reason why we self-sabotage is because we stay in that comfort zone, and it's like, well, I'm comfortable being here, I already know it, things suck, yeah, it sucks, but it's okay, because when I'm here, I'm safe, I feel safe, and I'm also feeling comfortable. It's not what I like, but it's what I feel comfortable with. And so we always kind of go back to what we feel comfortable. And let's just say that you do go back, and you do want change for yourself, right? Let's just say, um you finally meet that person that doesn't hurt you as much, or is the best thing that has ever happened to you. So then when you get that person, it becomes a little bit forceful, because you're not ready for that person into your life. Because if your energy and your vibrations don't match well, what ends up happening is that you start repelling each other after maybe the honeymoon phase kind of, or the excitement starts going down, and you start repelling each other, and it puts you in this scarce mindset, thinking like, oh, I gotta hold on to this person, I need to do things, I need to do this, and things becomes forceful. And once things becomes forceful, it it becomes like, people could sense that, and it's like, yo, I feel like I'm losing my freedom, I feel like it's very needy, it's like this type of energy, and I don't really want to be around a person that's trying to always hold me down like that. So it's like, well, why would I want to participate in that if I feel like I'm being suffocated? So if and you can't give what you don't have. And if you don't feel like you have abundance of that, you're going to operate from that scarcity mindset. So it really kind of, it's that vicious cycle, unless you change. And but this topic is why we self-sabotage, and it's because we're unwilling to be vulnerable, and it leads to discomfort. Okay, so an important question to ask is like, well, how do you view vulnerability? How do you view it? And another good question is, well, if I was hurt in the past and I did share it to these people, how do I properly share it with the right people? And what are the patterns of the people that I've shared it with? Were they takers? Were these people that always that never really cared about anyone else but themselves? What are they? What do they all have in common? And so then that would give you an understanding of, maybe I shouldn't share with these people anymore. Maybe I should have other people in my life that I could talk to and I could share with, right? And it's, usually with communities like that, Facebook groups, any type of group will be very helpful, right? I don't know, Discord, right? I'm not a Discord kind of guy, but there are, stuff like that, communities and groups like that out there. So maybe you could share with that, right? Now, what is the experience you have with the vulnerability? Does being vulnerable means that you are weak, right? Because some people think, if I'm vulnerable, I'm weak. That depends. That depends on how you view it, right? I see vulnerability as, look, I'm given a chance to grow. I'm being aware of it now. If someone told me, hey, look, Mitchell, this is something that you've been doing wrong, and I agreed to that, oh, wow, okay, there's something that I need to work on. Thanks for noticing, because I didn't catch that. So think of it like this. Why did the Golden State Warriors win, right? Good coach. Good players too as well, right? But a coach is to spot certain things that you can't see yourself. So an interesting thing was, you know what? Can't stay my sentence poorly. That's okay, Julie. I hope Nathan feels better. But it was great having you on. Okay. Go do your mommy duties. But anyways, so I was at the gym and I was talking to this guy. He was he's a track star, or he runs. Okay, he does track and field, or I don't know exactly what's the proper term. Anyways, he runs a lot. Okay, and he does like those meter dashes and all that. And I was like, what separates you from those people up on a screen right now that I'm looking at? Because I was like, do you know those people? He said, yeah, I know some of them. I was like, good. So what's the difference between you and them? And he said, I'm just as quick. It's just that they have coaches, and those coaches spot a lot of things that I can't see myself. And that's really important. I'm like, yo, you already look super fit. I was like, look, if you grab my backpack and you started running, I'm like, you can have it. It's yours. Keep whatever's in there, because I'm not chasing you down. There ain't no way in hell, unless I have a car, I can't chase you, right? It was a joke, but but I was like, yo, like, so what's the difference? And he was like, yeah, it's the difference of having a good coach, right? So being vulnerable. Okay. Now, reasons for self-sabotage might be reasons like this. So let's just say you're in a relationship and you guys broke up, right? And many reasons. Here's some of it. One of the reasons why we self-sabotage in a relationship is because sometimes we feel lonely. Sometimes when, let's just say you broke up and it's been months. So you feel lonely. You feel like, I feel like I need this sense of importance, a sense of significance, because it's one of the 6 basic human needs. And if I can remember clearly, 6 basic human needs is love and connection, significance, variety, growth. What was the other 2? Okay, Mitchell needs some work. I knew it. I had it yesterday. Yeah, my mind's clouded. I don't know what's going on today. Anyways, but it's one of the six basic human needs, right? Love and connection, variety, hold on, significance, growth, contribution. Okay. Okay, you got five, Mitchell. What was the other one? Come on. Contribution. I can't do it. I can't do it right now. Anyways. Oh no, everyone's getting sick. No. Been drinking, so you don't. I thought you was gone, Julie. Leave. No, I was kidding. Yeah. So, anyways, reason why you self-sabotage is because you might feel lonely, right? So there's that fading effect bias feeling, which is, after a while, you start the negative feelings towards that person tends to go down. So what ends up happening is that the positive feelings that you have with that person seems like it's more amplified. So the positive feelings on how you feel about them is amplified now, right? So then that causes some people to like go back, right? To go back to the ex or whatever, right? Going back to the ex and find a reason to reconnect, right? But you also have to understand, why do you guys break up in the first place? It's not that simple. It's not that simple. Why? Why do you break up? Okay, do you think going back to that relationship is going to change? Daycare kids. Right? You have to really understand, like, okay, there's a reason why I wasn't like, but how you feel towards it usually trumps how your thought is. It's like, well, really think about it. Like, was it really that great in that relationship? Did that person really truly care, or do they just want you back temporarily because they feel like they need of something, whether it's the connection or even sex? That's a possibility, right? I just need to do something, right? Now, so feeling lonely, there's also another one, which is the lack of certainty. Oh, there it goes. Certainty, right? So that was number 6. Ha, in your face, Julie. So certainty was the 6th one that I did not remember. So uncertain, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? Not knowing certain things. So it's like, well, then you start playing the story in your head, like, well, was it really that bad? Did I mess up? Well, maybe if I just didn't say those type of things. And I think that's a great place to start. If you were to say to yourself, well, maybe if I was less of an asshole, that person would not have left or would not have done X, Y, and Z and stuff like that, right? That's important. In your face, keys. It's okay. It's okay. Mitchell's mind's a little clouded today. I don't know what's going on, but yeah, it's it's that lack of certainty and not knowing. So it's easier to kind of like go back, and then you start developing the story in your head, like, what is maybe something's wrong with me. And I don't think that's wrong, and I think that's a great step into a right a direction, because you're allowing yourself to open up and be more vulnerable and understand. So that's self-transformation. You're allowing yourself to grow from that perspective, and I think that's very important. Now, if you're there, master relation, thank you, Dom. Thank you, JR. Appreciate it, man. But it all happens from being able to be aware and being understanding, right? That's where transformation comes, is being aware of how you are and where you. So that's why I always talked about spend time with your thoughts. If you don't know who you are, well, guess what? Somebody else will tell you who you are. And that's usually, they don't really have a whole lot going for you. So really be careful, right? So anyways, I talked about lonely. I talked about uncertainty. And you create this false story. And when you create a false story, you're ignoring reality. You ignore reality. And you're like, well, maybe I did this and maybe I did that. And it could be true. But you also need to understand that a relationship takes two people. So what have they done? What kind of weight have they been pulling? Have they been reciprocating? Do the things you do, does it feel valued? Does it feel loved? Does it feel appreciated? He can't even relationship. What does that even mean? What does that even mean in English? Anyways, so I want to talk about self-sabotage because it's difficult to catch. Self-sabotage It's difficult to catch because consequences are not immediate. It doesn't happen right away. It happens slowly. And when you're not a and plus also if it's coming from a lesser, like, if it doesn't happen immediately, you're not consciously aware of it. And if you're not consciously aware of it, you kind of let things slip. And you let many things slip over and over and over. Well, guess what? It's going to run your life. And that's how you're going to. You, you're like, what's a beer, right? I do this once or twice. Here's a prime example. I always tell my mom, you're getting a little bit older. I want to make sure that you're healthy. Why the hell you keep eating that shit, mom? um you know I try to jokingly say it, but sometimes I'm like, no, seriously, I'm concerned, like, why do you eat that? Oh, I don't eat this a lot. I'm like, all right, but you can't tell me. And I'm not body shaming, okay? I'm just visually looking at it. I'm like, you didn't look like this 2 years ago. What happened? But you're telling me I don't do this. I only do this once or twice. I'm like, shit adds up. And you're not aware of it. And I'm not trying to put her down. I'm trying to be like, look, I just want you to be more conscious about it. And I see it. But see, here's another thing too. It's like how she views it. It's like I'm trying to like point out her flaws. So it's like, no, like I want you to be better. Now, after a while, I was like, okay, maybe it's the approach. So I was like, hey, I'm making some salad. I'm making some of this. Would you like some? So I made it. And she was like, ugh. And I was like, all right, maybe Mitchell needs another approach. Right? This is my mom. I love her. I want to make sure that she's all right. Right. So, I'm trying different things. And it's, she is a lady. So, how she operates, it's kind of like it's all over. Right. But it's okay. I'm trying to understand. I'm doing different things, even though it does frustrate me sometimes, but it's okay, right? I do learn to distance certain things, but still. Anyways, I'm just babbling on. But anyways, yeah. Lastly on this slide, is we don't catch it right away, so consequences doesn't appear immediately. Okay, and also it's getting rid of the clutter that we have. We have a lot of clutter in our life, right? What are things that you are accepting and adding into your life that really doesn't belong there? Or because you're not aware of it right away when you start like bringing in things, right? You just keep bringing it in, and then sooner than you know it, you have a stock load of shoes like what Mitchell has, and Mitchell has to let go of some shoes. Yeah. It happens. You're like, yeah, I started out with 10. Now I have like 30. Okay. And it could become a problem. And I do have an addiction to shoes because, I like moving my feet. But it's okay. So getting rid of the clutter, right? And this also applies to the people in your life. What kind of people do you have in your life? Who do you always hang around with? And what you tolerate, you invite more of. So like when you are there, are you consistently nipping it in the bud? Are you, if someone says something to you, are you checking like, yo, I don't appreciate that? Like, why do you always say that? Like, you got to make sure that you let them know, like, no, that's not okay with me, right? And you can't do it like 9 out of 10 times and then let them slip that one, because once you let that one slip, you heard that term, you give an inch, they take a mile. Yeah, they're going to take that. They're going to be like, oh, I could do this. Like, no. Step back. Okay. So here it is. Next slide is identity. What is your identity, right? I talked about this before in the first slide, but let's dive a little bit deeper into that. Okay. Identity. If you don't design your own life, plan, chances are you will fall into someone else's plan, and guess what? They have for you. They don't have a lot, right? And so that's Jim Rohn, rest in peace. But the people, the environment, the stories you believe in molds you into the person and how you view yourself. Okay? If you grew up in an environment that told you that you can do it, that's very supportive, and what can I do to help, you're going to operate from a different place. Now, that still depends on how much do you want it, right? That's like self-efficacy, how you feel and how you believe about it, right? But it puts you in a better position than someone that's always being constantly bombarded with, you can't do this, what's wrong with you, what's the point of doing this and all that. Yeah, you can persevere through it, and I'm not saying that people that have support are immediately more successful, and I'm also not saying that people that did not get the support don't overcome it. But either way, it depends. Like, everyone starts differently. Everyone has problems. Everyone has obstacles and circumstances and all that. But it's how you adapt to that situation. So, but if you come from a healthy, happy, healthy family, chances are you're going to operate from a better place. And let's just say your personality is you don't like confrontation. You don't like confrontation, and that's okay. But your family, ever since you were a kid, always gave you problems. But you don't like confrontation. But you're also kind of like, whatever, I don't care enough, right? But then you're still going to be be around that, so you're going to be comfortable being around that type of environment. So it's possible that when someone does come into your life that's very peaceful, that kind of like that cares about who you are as a person, that wants to be around you, excited, right, all that good stuff, you're not aware of that, and you're like, oh, this is kind of weird. I'm not familiar with this. Like, what was this type of change? And then there's a possibility where you start creating some stories in your mind, and you're saying like, why is this person so nice? Do they want something from me? What do they want, right? Like, you can see like, oh, it's too good to be true, better stay away from it, right? And yeah, things can be too good to be true, and if it's too good, you know you could trust, but verify, make sure, like, hey, what's going on, like, proceed with caution, right? Slippery when wet. Anyways, I talked about this earlier, but it's all dependent on your character, on how you perceive things and how you view it, right? If you know your self-esteem, you're realistic, like you're good at it, but you just don't care enough to do it, well, that's your character, right? Or if you feel like, I don't think I'm good, I know I'm not good right now, but that's okay, but give me some time and I will be good or better at it, and then giving me even more time, I'll be great at it, right? So, but that's your character. This is all dependent on your character, on who you view yourself to be, and do you think you could overcome it, right? And knowing ourselves makes us less hungry for praise, and I think that's the approach of like social media, which is like, oh, I need this, I need that, I need a lot of people to come to me to cheer, like, to like praise me, give me those likes. I need to hear those validation. I need that, because that lets me know that I'm doing something right. But then it goes back to how happiness becomes a moving target. And once it becomes a moving target, it's beyond your control now. And if you can't control that, you're going to be disappointed very, very often, because life, people out there's more miserable people than there are happy, healthy, normal people, right? And that's just that's just the reality of it. So you got to really protect your mind. You got to protect your thought, right? Your mental factory. So, let's see, where was I? Okay, over here. It says, oh, depends. So, things happen to everybody: circumstances, obstacle, and change. Only you can decide on when you no longer want to live the way that you always did. Okay? Your identity is the collection of your ingredients of your mental factory. And here's this. There's no time like the present. There's no time like the present. Just do it. You don't have to be great at it. Do a little bit every day, and that's your system. I think it was James Clear of Atomic Habits. I haven't read it, but I've gotten a glimpse of it, and he talked about setting goals, versus having systems. And that was a different approach, which, goals are important because it gives you a direction and you know where to go from there. But systems is what builds you up towards your goal, and you're allowed, and that's the process. So, but having a goal without a plan isn't really, you don't you could go in any direction and it's gonna take you a much longer time to get there. But if you have a goal and you have a direction and you know where exactly how you're going to do it, and you don't need to have all the answers, you just gotta improve a little bit every day or every other day, depending on how much you want it, right? But that system is what's going to allow you to have that change in your life, that behavior change, right? The outcome, the process, and then who you become, that's your identity. Okay? So let's see. There's no time like the present. And I have one more slide, which is the resistance to change and the reason why people don't change. Okay? Why we resistance? Okay? And you don't get to believe without reasons. Julie, you're still here. Julie, you're still here. Thank you. So you don't get to believe without reasons. It's like, look, if you believe that you're worth this much, and you believe, okay, what's your reason? Do you really deserve this? Why? What have you done? What have you done to yield this type of belief? Yes, it is. It's tomorrow. I am getting slightly older by the second. Right? So, you don't get beliefs without reasons. Now, resistance to change occurs because people believe they are being asked to deny what is important in their past. It's like, if I'm trying to change your views about certain things, I'm also telling you or letting you know that, hey, there's something in the past that you gotta let go. There's some things you have to let go. It's you have to understand that things are going to be a little bit different if you do want this, right? If you do want this, things are going to be a little bit different. And are you willing? And remember, I said, love is about giving. Love is freedom, right? You must love in such a way that the person you love feels free. That includes yourself too. You got to set yourself free, right? If you really care about yourself and you love and you value yourself, you got to set yourself free. So that's another understanding too. And then that requires not only giving it to yourself, but you got to give it to the other person as well, right? So if you want that person to feel that, if you want the other person to feel loved and all this, you have to let them know, like, hey, gently lead. Let them know, hey, if you want a better life, you could do this, right? This is what I did. If you want to, you could join me. But ultimately, it is their choice. Force will not make a person change. If anything, it builds resentment. Oh, you made me do this. You made me do that, right? So you got to let them do it. You have to let them participate in their own rescue, right? But a lot of that is like, yeah, it's you're telling them to deny some of the things that are important in their past, and to them that's a very uncomfortable place, right? Especially if you have to open up to being vulnerable, and which is not a lot of people feel comfortable doing that. So me telling you that you should do more might require more work. So maybe that's not the right approach, right? Hey, you got to do this. Maybe it's not the right approach. Or maybe if they are asking, but what can I do? Okay, if you're asking, this is what you should do, right? Yeah, it is tomorrow. It is tomorrow. But anyways, let's see. So the reality is that you might not have a place to go back to, a place where you're familiar and comfortable. Remember, like, listening to music. And, well, if I have a person like that in my life, if that'd be great or whatever, right? Can I, like, where would my comfort zone be? Where would it be? Or let's just say, and then you start operating from a different place. An example that I gave is, when I was talking to JR, is, let's just say you were poor your entire life and you were made fun of, and it was in school, and it was traumatizing. So then you grow up, I need money so that people can't say certain things to me anymore. So then now you're grown up, you're an adult, and you have money. You have a lot of money, okay? You made enough so that you could prove to everybody you did it and F you, right? But in reality, your approach was, I'm doing this so that I could trump this. So, but I'm still feeding the fear that I had, the trauma in my past. And yes, you do have more money. But now that you have more money, you're like, well, how do I do and maintain this and hold this so it doesn't go away, so that no one will make fun of me anymore, right? Because money comes and goes, right? And so if you're coming from that place and you're feeding that fear, it will always be behind you. And that's the resistance. That's the thing that's going to be pulling you back, right? But let's just say you're like, you know what? Be vulnerable. Hey, you know what? I was made fun of in the past. These were past traumas. I'm okay. I can let that go. But I still need money because it allows me to, have resources. I think that's important, right? Hey, I have certain goals, right? If a goal is to buy a house, you can't buy a house with no money, right? So hey, yeah, I wanna have a happy, healthy place, for the people that I love and I care about. That's a much better approach than I need more money so that I will never be made fun of anymore. And be honest to yourself. Are you still doing that? And if you are feeding that fear in that past, you have to let that go so that you let go of the resistance. Okay. And understand why, right? The bigger your why, the easier the how, right? So it's like, yeah, I don't really care about this anymore. It's okay. Things that happened in the past. It's not, it's okay. I can move on from it, right? Let's see. Let me put that in my phone. Coach B tomorrow. That's why he talking quick so you can go party like no tomorrow. No, that's not it. I always talk fast. You just listening slow. I was kidding. No, all right. Hear me out. Hear me out. Resistance to change. All right. So a lot of it might be the lack of certainty, which is why some people are resistant to change. The best way to apply change is allowing them the opportunity to examine their past in relevance to the present. Okay? Look at the past in relevance to the present. Hey, look, if you are going to change and if you want a better living lifestyle, thoughts, right? How you perceive things, you have to be willing to understand that, like, the things in the past, it's in the past. And how is it going to change your future? But I'm not telling you to let go of everything in the past and deny that, but understand that how is it going to change in the future, and let them see that and let them understand that in relevance to the present, right? So, and so that from there they're more likely to change on their own terms. Okay. But if they, excuse me. Now, if they are given the opportunity to examine the past in relevance to the present, they might decide voluntarily, right? They might decide voluntarily that some of the past can now be left behind, particularly in the past appropriately honored. They have to understand it, okay? And then they could properly let that go. So why most people choose chaos is because of the upbringing, the limiting beliefs, right? So really be mindful of the present that you're in. Be honest to yourself. And that's why having that genuine realness for yourself on who you are, it's so important, because I think that's what people could relate to. People relate to people that have more problems. People don't relate to people that are very perfect, right? The social media, there's no flaws with me. Like, everybody has flaws. Everybody has problems, right? Everybody has circumstances. It's how well you could understand the other person. So this is what Jim Rohn said, and I feel way more equipped. And he said, if you could put your mind, not Jim Rohn, I think it was Dale Carnegie, maybe both. Anyways, he was like, if you could put your mind and understand from that person's perspective, he was like, you would never be hungry. You will never be hungry. You will always be wanted because you are going to be desired. Mainly because there's not a lot of people like that in the world. There's not a lot of people that's willing to give. There's more takers out there, right? So it puts you in a position where people, it's like you're scarce. There's not a lot. There's abundant. There's way. How many people are takers versus givers, and that are really nice, and that's actually nice because they're just genuinely nice. They're not trying to get something out of it, right? Very old here. How old, Julie? How old are you? Um, but yeah, so it's like, how do you separate yourself from the other people, right? How do you become the most irresistible option? And I think that's a really important understanding. But you also have to understand, like, there are certain things that people have facts. There are facts about life, right? And it's like, men were more visual creatures. Women, you guys fall in love through the ears. We fall mainly in love with our eyes first, right? It's that's how we mainly operate. Ladies, can you be with a guy that you absolutely hate, but he looked fine? He looked fine. You might, hey, if your goal is to hook up, hey, by all means, then do that, right? Why you burping? I'm not burping. Oh, that was earlier. I don't know. Today feels a little funky for me. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. But it's okay. I'll be all right. But yeah, that's where it's at. All right, that's where it's at. So that's part of the reason why we self-sabotage. Um, Thank you guys for coming in. Appreciate it. Julie, you said you were gonna leave. You're still here. Um, you know, so I do appreciate that. So you lied to me. That's okay. So I'm judging you based off your character. Uh, but no, thank you guys. I do appreciate it. So let me ask you guys this, since I have a few minutes left. Like, why is there something that you're doing now that you're self-sabotaging? I know, Bree, I don't want to bring it up, but if you are willing to bring it up, maybe we could discuss about it, right? I know you mentioned it earlier. I don't know, do you feel comfortable in this platform where you want to share those ideas again? Tell me. I feel like this is very it's how well you take care of yourself, right? It's so it, look, I'm getting older too, right? Just like everybody else. It's not just your genetics, but it's how you operate through life. Like, do you take care of it? Are you willing to do the maintenance, the upkeep to make sure that you do preserve that youth? You know? I like that. I want to. When I was like, what, 16, I was like, I can't wait till I'm 21 so I could drink. Now I'm like, take me back. Let me go back. I just want to be younger. And it's all right. Let's talk about it. Okay. So the reason why we self-sabotage, right? Or example, for Bree's example, she was on my previous live somewhere else. She was discussing about, she's afraid of opening up. She's afraid of being loved, right? And what is that? Like, why do you believe that? Why are you even saying that, right? Let's start with that first. Why are you saying that? Okay? And I can't move forward until, well, I can, but I don't want to just keep assuming. So why do you say that? Why? What was something in the past that hurt you? I self-sabotage when someone gets too close to me. Okay. Now let's date it back to a time when you were younger. Okay. What happened? How were your family? How was your relationship with your parents, your mom and your dad, right? Or the person that took care of you? How was your relationship with them? And that really tells a whole lot. 40. Ooh. Let's drink to that. Let's get some cupcakes. Okay. Shut myself off right now because I have so much baggage. Okay. So I talked about getting rid of the clutter, right? And but that's one thing. But let's still answer that one question that I had. How was your relationship that you had with your people in the past, because I think that's really important. I'm gonna sabotage you, Mitchell. Okay. All right. Stay away from her. All right. Let's move on. Let's move on. Let's move on. Okay. You know, you could talk about serious things, but you can still have a good time doing talking about it, right? You can still have a good time. You can still, yeah. All right. So Bree, I'm waiting. I'm waiting on your answer. Waiting on your answer. What is the relationship you had in the past? Clark Mitchell Tang, the legend. Clark Brooks. Yo, what's up, man? Yeah, I'm talking about relationships, but I'm a legend somewhere. I'm a legend. I'm gonna take that. Thank you, appreciate it. Yo, I'm in a book of world records, baby. I might actually have to pull that out again. Yeah. But anyways, Bree, I'm waiting on your answer. Today's topic is why we self-sabotage. So Clark, if you're in here and you want to discuss about maybe why we self-sabotage too as well, maybe you share your story. Let's see. Bree, you said my relationship in the past weren't bad aside from my dad. My dad, he was not there and I felt abandoned. Okay, there you go. Right? The feeling of abandonment is what kind of leads you to wanting to be around people that eventually feels like they're going to abandon you as well. My past my past love relationship were amazing. Okay. Up until where the excitement goes down, right? Up until where the excitement goes down, people become comfortable, they become complacent, right? So the feeling of abandonment is what you're comfortable with, or not comfortable, is familiar, right? And how do you cope in that situation? Just like the, oh, this is how I listen to music, right? Now, I'm not saying that just because your dad abandoned you or didn't feel like he was around or whatever is going to, you're going to be that person, right? But chances are, because of that, you didn't really, that's how you view life. It's like, damn, that kind of sucked. I didn't really have a whole lot going for myself, especially when it comes to a parent, my dad, right? Because I felt like that too. I feel like, damn, I didn't know who to kind of latch onto. Why are you laughing, Julie? Why are you laughing? Okay. And also, Bree, if you said your past relationships were amazing, what happened? What changed? What changed? What were some of the things that you took control of, that you had control of, that maybe had them, caused them to go away, right? This is familiar. I'm pretty much cry and just get in that zone that everyone is the same. Okay, so your belief is that you don't believe that anyone is out there good enough for you, right? Maybe that's linked to part of the reason why your dad left you, or abandoned you. And it's one of those things where it's, I want you to think about it from a sense of, not the breed that you understand now, or not the breed that has been working towards self-help, but I want you to think back to that time of feeling abandoned or whatever, right? Or maybe not just that too, but understand like what was the relationship you have with your parents, your mom, right? But think back into the time of how you felt as a kid. Like, what did it make you feel? What was traumatizing in your past, and experience that the same exact way of how you felt when you were a kid. Not, don't experience it from how you view it as the breed now, that the breed that understands self-help. Okay? Because the trauma that you had in the past, you didn't know about self-help in the past. You didn't know about, oh, I need to do this so that I could be better, right? You're a kid. Like, what happened? Um, Here's an example. Let me share. Maybe this might be helpful. It's when I was a kid. I didn't know any better, so I did things or said things that was maybe inappropriate. That didn't that I didn't knew that it was wrong that I said it, right? Because I'm a kid. I'm a kid. I'm just doing things, and of course, I have people that were older than me that told me like, no, Mitchell, don't do this. If you do this, the police will come and take you away. And I'm like, what the hell did I do? Like, I don't know what's going on. So I experienced it. Like, I don't understand why. I just know that I don't see it from the perspective of I'm doing something wrong, but I'm perceiving it as I'm wrong, I'm bad, I messed up, something's wrong with me now. And I don't see it from their perspective because they know more than me. They're older, right? But I don't know the reasoning on why they're doing that. I didn't know that they're doing it to help me. I just know that I'm wrong. I'm messed up. Something's wrong with me, right? So if that's being constantly told to you that you can't, something's wrong, don't do that, and you always bombarded with those type of negativity, and especially not knowing, that's going to be the story that I believe in. Like, I'm bad, I'm wrong, something is wrong with me because I did this. That's me, but that's me as a child. And of course, when I grow up, those are the things that kind of latch onto in the past. Like, hey, until you're more aware of it, until you going back to the past traumas, like, why did I do that? And was I wrong for doing the things that I did in the past, whatever that was traumatic in that past? And I have to really understand, like, I was a kid. I didn't know. Like, maybe I shouldn't have kicked that ball over there or whatever, right? I don't know. I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to play with balls in the house, right? I was never close to my mom, and I just wanted to be surrounded by my friends all the time. I surround myself with people and just push through it. I never really identified that I was depressed. Now, if you're depressed and you're diagnosed with that, you know, professional help, of course. Like, don't turn that down. But also, if you're not diagnosed with that and you do want to consistently and work towards yourself and try to better yourself, you know, look at the relationship you had with your past, right? So you say you were never close to your mom and your dad wasn't there, right? So the sense of abandonment was really present. And so now, of course, it's gonna be difficult to open up. Now, with your friends, you always wanted to be with your friends, right? So the sense of maybe just being around your friends is like, I have to feel like I need to be around them to be happy. So now happiness becomes this moving target, and you're like, I need that to be happy. Now that you're left alone, you're like, well, I got to protect myself. So you're playing from this threshold of playing not to lose, right? I gotta be careful. Things are risky. I can't open up. If I do, I'll get hurt because now now I'm opening up this door of some people might know, and they will say something that will hurt me, right? And that, of course, if you're coming from that place where there's grief, or there's fear, and after fear is anger, right? Behind anger is always fear. So it's like you're playing from that threshold, and it's like it's hard to push past. Let's just say this is the threshold, right? And there's four things on the bottom. Let's talk about that right now. So that's where you're at right now, okay? This is where you're at. Going past this threshold is playing to win. This down here, Bree, is playing not to lose. So this is not from me. I got this from Julian himself, and I could send you that link if you wanted to. But he talks about how there's the four things on the bottom, and at the bottom of the list is apathy. Apathy is like people that's like, I give up in life. What's the point? Ain't no point of living. This sucks. Everything sucks. And with apathy, it's actually good. Now, people that's in apathy that gave up in life, it's actually good to tell them, hey, you know what? Life does suck. The government sucks. It's the people suck. And the reason why over here is actually good is because it gives them a sense of hope. It gives them a sense of hope. Like, wow, someone understands me. That's where people with apathy. Let's move up to the next one, number 2. It's grief. Grief is like, man, poor me. This sucks, But they're not completely given up in life. They haven't given up in life completely. So it's like, man, this sucks, the government and all this, my friends, I'm the victim. poor me, right? And people that is in grief, it's actually good to tell them, look, you need to you need to fucking snap out of this. Like, you're acting like a bitch right now. Like, yo, let's get you out of this, right? And so it's actually, so you see, whereas from apathy, it's like, it's good to actually agree with them. Like, hey, you know what? The government sucks. The people sucks. Yeah, people suck. Yeah, yeah. Giving them hope. And then after that, after you give them hope, you're like, yo, stop being a bitch. And then after that, it's like, well, what are your fears? You're fearful now, right? You're fearful because you're like, man, things don't operate the way I want to. I tried it before, and it's scary out there, so it's better to just be in this comfort zone of fear, right? This comfort zone of fear. And then you move up the next scale, it's anger. You're like, man, fuck this, I'm just gonna do it. And then it's like I said, this is the threshold, right? And once you move past this threshold from fear to anger, you're gonna go past this threshold, and it's gonna be courage. You're gonna have courage. And after, I believe after courage is like desire. It's like, what do you want? And then after that, you start finding fulfillment, and that's where loving connection comes from, and that's from loving yourself. So I hope it makes sense. Like, from down here where apathy, grief, fear, and anger, the energy goes up. If you notice, like, people that give up in life, they're like very low energy, right? Grief is like, man, poor me, but the energy moves up just a little bit on that scale. And then fear is like, oh, like there's still energy. And then anger is like, ah, right? So it's like you moving up from little to no energy to a little bit more energy. You get past that threshold, and then you have courage, right? But yeah, so now Bree, you're in between fear, and you're in between fear and maybe anger sometimes, right? Fuck life, fuck this. And then sometimes you're like, courage. So every now and then you move past that threshold, but something keeps pulling you back down. So what is it, right? And it's important to ask yourself that question. So what's, since you didn't get too close, now that I'm alone, I just stand guard all the time. So you're resistant for anyone to come in now. You're resisting. You're holding back. You're like, no, 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 because I've gotten hurt too many times. So just remember now, if you're always going to be in that place of fear and anger, you're never going to be from moving past that threshold to be able to have that courage. Because what you're lacking now is that certainty, right? That certainty is because you don't believe that you're not good enough. I was at the anger level, not too long ago. Is that what you said? I was at that anger level not too long ago. What happened after anger? What happened after anger, right? Did it set you back down, or did it move you up, right? Did you have the courage from there, right? And what were your thoughts when you were angry? Did it pull you back down? And if it did, why? Because people, right? And that's why I always talked about, like, you have to spend time with your thought. What happened in the past? Why do I keep going back to that? Why am I comfortable being at that place? So it sounds to me like a lot of it came from because you didn't have a whole lot in the past, and that's what you kind of always operated from, and that's what you're familiar with and what you're comfortable with. And moving past that means that it's uncertain. You don't know. But what you do know is that people that were up there, they seem to be really happy. They seem to be excited, right? And based off what you told me earlier about how you're friends and you always wanted to be around them because they made you happy, that just tells me that you didn't spend enough time understanding yourself and writing stuff down and really answering the questions that, what were some of the things that really traumatized me in that past, or recent past, or childhood past? Like, what were some of those past traumas, right? And trauma could be anything that you experienced that is very discomforting. Very discomforting. One of it to me was approaching people. I couldn't approach people. I was very shy, very afraid. I knew I could talk, but that anxiety pops up because of what happened in the past. That's what happened. So I went back to the past and I was like, what did I feel? Well, I felt embarrassed. Well, why did I feel embarrassed? Well, because I did I did this and it didn't go well. Okay? Well, what was the worst thing that could really happen if you do it again? Well, is my life endangered, or am I just gonna get shot down or turned down? Am I gonna die from approaching a person that denies me? No. Okay. So is that really that? Is it gonna hurt me that much? Right? And I was like, no. Well, okay. Well, okay. So let's agree, Mitchell, that you're just not good at it. You're not that good at it. Well, how do you get good? Well, um, I like being myself. I'm more comfortable being myself now. And are you going to succeed with everybody that you talk to? Most likely not, but that's okay. You got to keep trying. Well, okay then go out there and try. And once the most important part is that you go out there and you try and you do it. And that's the process. And the results is coming from your behavioral change. But it doesn't matter what type of results you get. The most important part is that you tried and you try again and you keep trying until something works. And when something works, you keep that and you learn to kind of like, you know, get rid of the clutter, the things that doesn't work. But it's still important to know why it doesn't work, right? Okay, let's see. Bree, you said agree. I didn't really identify those things in the past until I started therapy almost 3 years ago. Also, a part of the past traumas had to do with a guy who I thought was family did that to you, right? That's traumatizing to you, right? That's traumatizing. So it's a, and I don't, there are bad people out there. There are people that just absolutely suck, and bad things happen to good people. But that shouldn't put you in a position where you feel like you don't want to live or you don't feel like you're good enough, right? But that's that self-talk. It starts with thought. Thoughts is what create emotions, and your emotions is how you feel about it, and how you feel about it depends on how your behavior or your action that you do or do not do, right? And then you're giving that result, right? So it's, how is that life where you are at now, right, in comparison to the present, and also what you could have in the future, and what do you want it, and how bad do you want it, and how are you going to design that life so that you can go move past that. And it's by also understanding the past traumas, right? But Bree, I hope that was helpful. I know you said you started therapy 3 years ago, right? And whatever happened in the past, it didn't go the way that you wanted, and it sucked. But if you do want something better for yourself and for your life, you have to be willing to let those go. You have to be willing to let go of what you're comfortable doing when you're in isolation or alone time, right? That's why I was talked about, like, when you come back home, are you always constantly being distracted, right? It's because with these distractions, and also here's this too. When you're kind of, when let's just say you're messed up on your own, right? You have this baggage that you say, right? Then you start attracting people that have baggage too as well, right? Because what makes a relationship uh work is things in common. So you start attracting these things that people might have. And maybe here's another possibility. Their problems are bigger than yours. And if their problems are bigger than yours, then it kind of, not to say that your problem isn't any important. It's just that because it's their problems bigger than yours, it causes this distraction, and it kind of like blocks or clouds your mind, like, oh, you know what? Their problem is worse than mine, so I don't really need to think about mine as much because look at theirs, right? Kind of like the Jerry Springer effect. And it's like you're distracted again. And then you're also being more distracted by things around you, whether it's your phone, maybe it's watching Stranger Things #4 on Netflix, um, or like, just doing things. And of course, you have responsibilities because you're a mother, right? And I understand that. But then if you haven't really spent time for yourself and on yourself, then you won't really know who you are, right? And that's where this whole self help is. It's to understand who you are as a person so that you can move forward, right? Let's see. It was helpful and I appreciate it. I've slowly started to let go, but still working on it. Yeah, and it's you, and it works from where how no one can rush you through this process. You have to experience it through your own feelings and lens. Like only you know the butterfly feelings that that person gave you. No one can experience it the same way that you did, right? The only way that you could do, or the best way you could do, is like maybe describe the feeling that you had, right? Whether it's excitement or whatever. But yeah, I'm glad this was helpful. I'm glad that it helped you, and I do appreciate the time that you're giving me too as well. So, I hope, like I said, this goes both ways, right? Want to make sure that everybody that is watching is getting the benefits too as well, because time is something that you will never get back, and I always see that as very valuable, right? So, it's what time is it? Like 15, 16 minutes past my 1 hour mark. But anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. Today's episode was Why We Self-Sabotage. If you haven't already, please hit that like button, share with your friends, or maybe even like clip something, share a clip on Instagram or whatever to what you thought was very helpful for you, you know? Even though I was isolating myself from love, right now is only to work on myself. I don't want to make the same mistake again. Yeah. Okay. And also, Bree, if you make the same mistake, right? Is it the end of the world? Now, obviously you don't want to consistently make it, right? But if you were to accidentally make it again, how can you become more aware of that next time, right? Because hey, I'm not perfect. I still make mistakes, and even the same mistakes sometimes until I catch it. Until I catch it. But it doesn't mean you stop living in that, right? So having that character, your character is destiny, right? What is your belief of your self-esteem, of what is realistic and what actually works, and your self-efficacy, how you feel about it, because that's going to kind of determine who you are as a person. Can you overcome it, or maybe you can overcome things but you just don't care enough to do it, right? Or you believe that, hey, you know what, maybe I'm not that great right now, but I do know that anything that I've ever done, I've always gotten better at it. It might be a little bit slower, but think of it as a system, right? We tend to over glorify the things that happens immediately, like big changes, like wow. But then it's those little 1% a day that actually makes the biggest difference in your life. Okay. So anyways, I'm gonna end the show right now. Bree, it was thank you for sharing your story. I really do appreciate it. And I know being vulnerable is not easy, but especially in a platform like this where potentially a lot of people could see this. But I do appreciate you always sharing your story. I know you're not alone in this because other people are experiencing it as well. I just know that if you are experiencing this, just know that you are not alone, and that I've experienced things too as well. Maybe not to the scale of how you might be feeling, but everybody has their problems, and it's how well we could deal with it and how well we could adapt to it. But anyways, until next time, I'll see you guys in the next episode. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.